Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were brothers, and together, right from 1812, they collected and published folklore. They popularized stories of Cinderella, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, and many stories that we listen today. These collection of stories came to be known as Grimm's Fairy Tales. One of the stories from these collection is the story of the miser in the bush. The story is very interesting and tells the story of a rich miser and a poor man who worked for this rich man. The poor man worked very hard under the rich man for 3 full years. However, at the end of the 3rd year, the rich man had not paid any wages to the poor man. Finally, when the poor man asked the rich man for his wages, the rich man took out 3 pence and gave it to the man. These 3 pence is one for each of the year that you worked for me. The poor man took the money and finally realized that it was best if he worked elsewhere. So he left the house of the rich man and kept walking. As the poor man walked, he realized that he was going to start a new life. The thought excited him, and he happily hummed to himself as he walked. A dwarf saw the happy man and decided to follow him. "Who are you and where are you going?" The dwarf curiously studied the man. "I'm going to the next village in search of work," the man told the dwarf. The dwarf was even more curious. "You seem very happy." The man nodded. "I'm happy because I've received the money that I've earned for the past 3 years. The dwarf finally saw the 3 pence that the man had earned, and the dwarf was shocked. A second later, a sudden shrewd look came to the dwarf's eyes as he studied the money. "I have no money at all," the dwarf told the other man. "Can you please give me some money?" The poor man studied the dwarf and realized that the dwarf was telling the truth, and he really did not have any money with him. The poor man told himself that he could earn the money again and handed over the 3 coins to the dwarf. The dwarf was stunned when he saw them, and that was when the luck of the poor man changed. Because, as is the case with all fairy tales, the dwarf was no ordinary person. He was just testing the poor man. The dwarf was someone who knew magic, and he could grant wishes to people. "You are a kind and honest person, and for this I will grant you 3 wishes for the 3 coins that you gave me." The poor man hesitated for a second, but then he realized that the dwarf meant what he had said. That poor man first wished for a bow that could bring down anything that he shot with it. After the bow appeared in his hands, the poor man wished for a fiddle. If anyone heard the music notes from the fiddle, they would start dancing in spite of themselves. That was a very special fiddle. Finally, the poor man asked the dwarf for a unique wish, that no one could refuse anything he asked of them. The dwarf disappeared after granting these 3 wishes to the man, and then the man continued on his way. As the man stepped into another village, he saw a fat, pouchy man looking up a tree. There was a melodious singing from the tree, and the fat, pouchy man's eyes looked greedy. Instantly, the man with the bow and the fiddle realized that the fat man was exactly like the miser whom he had served for 3 years. "What do you want? What are you doing here?" the man with the bow asked the pouchy man. "There is a bird there that sings beautifully, and I wish to own it." The other man used his bow and rendered the bird unconscious and brought it down. Then the man handed over the bird to the fat man. That was when the fat man heard another melodious voice which he could not resist. This came from the fiddle of the other man. As the man played the fiddle, the fat man found that he could not stop dancing. The music got faster and faster, and the fat man's feet hurt, and he danced on the thorns near the edge of the tree. "You have made enough people suffer," the man with the fiddle told the fat man. "It is your turn now." The fat man pleaded with the other man to stop, and finally he handed over all the money in his purse to the other man to get him to stop playing the fiddle. The other man took the money and stopped playing the fiddle and walked away from there. He was waiting in the middle of the village when out of the blue, guards of the kingdom came to arrest him. "What did I do?" The man with the fiddle was shocked. "You stole money from another man. You beat him up and took all his money. The chief guard told the man with the fiddle, I did no such thing. The other man pleaded, but no one believed him and they dragged him to jail. Just outside the jail, the man saw the fat, pouchy man waiting with the fat man had a smirk. Check this man's pocket. You will find my money in his purse. On seeing the money, the claims of the man that the miser had given it to him fell on deaf ears. The jailer sentenced the other man to be hanged for theft. The other man was gagged, and so he could not talk or explain that he had not done anything. The next day, just before being hanged, the man was asked for his last wishes. The man naturally asked to play his fiddle. The miser tried to stop this, but the third wish of the man had been that no one could refuse him anything. The fiddle was handed over to him and he started playing a tune. The entire village started dancing and none of them could stop. Finally, the jailer gave 100 coins to the man to never play the fiddle here again. However, this time, after taking the money, the man with the fiddle turned to the fat miser, and using the fiddle, the man got the miser to admit that he had willingly paid the money to the man with the fiddle. The man with the fiddle moved on to the next village with all the money that he had earned, while the miser was jailed for his crimes. I hope you enjoyed the story.